Hey, what's going on, guys? FXLRST, new channel, so nothing fancy, no frilly intros, music, editing, anything like that. We'll see what kind of traction the channel gets and see if we can add some of that stuff later on. But as for right now, basically just want to show you guys my 2022 Lowrider ST. Have this bike for about a month now. Haven't got to ride it a whole lot. I'm just now getting through the 500-mile break-in period. I actually went on about a 4,500 mile ride on my 2013 Street Glide, which I can do a video on that, and my 2011 Y Glide that I've got some cool stuff done to later on if you guys want to see that. But basically, this is just kind of an intro to this channel, show you the bike, give you some info that some of you may already know, some of you may not. Just kind of like a quick breakdown, fast and loose, of the bike. So obviously 2022 Lowrider ST. I chose to go with black on this bike. I don't dislike the gunship gray, but I don't feel like the bronze that's on the wheels of the black Lowrider ST, I don't think it looks good on gray. I think that Harley should have changed the color of the wheels and done a gunmetal or a black. Bronze and gray, just to me, it aesthetically is just a nightmare. So I didn't want to go with that. Plus, everything I own is black. My truck's black, my Street Glide's black, my Y Glide's black. So I just like black. Sorry about the traffic in the background. But a couple of observations of the bike. So a lot of this, if you are on the Facebook group page or in the forums, like, you may already know some of this stuff, but some general observations. The bike rides and handles great. I mean, if you're coming from a Dyna, and this has been said a million times, but if you're coming from a Dyna, there really is just no comparison. I've had several Dynas and I love them, but this is just the next step up. Obviously not sport bike level suspension, but just the way that the suspension, the compliance of the suspension and how linear it is and how it responds is just leaps and bounds above what the Dyna was ever capable of, especially in its stock form. Now I know there's a lot of upgrades that people do, but there's some things that you just can't work out of that chassis. And I was hesitant, but I finally bit the bullet. And when this bike came out, I had to have one. I'm a huge fan of the old FXR, especially the FXR style fairing. And when I saw this bike, I actually didn't believe it was real. I thought it was a joke. And I told some of my buddies, I said, if that's real, I'll go and buy one. And I did. So waited about 6 weeks on this one and it came in. But like I said, handling is fantastic on this bike for a stock Harley, if that's what you are expecting. In my opinion, when you're riding this bike, it actually kind of has the feel of a kind of like an early 80s Japanese sport tour. It's obviously heavier and has more torque and less top end, but it kind of has that vibe, kind of like the 80s before they really figured out what a sport bike was and they had the fairings and that kind of thing. Especially in its stock form, since the exhaust is so quiet, so you don't have that Harley rumble. One of the other observations is that this ridiculous air filter, I don't know what Harley was thinking on this, but if you look straight down, I'm 6 feet tall. This thing is against my shin at all times. It's absurd. I don't know why they decided to go with that. I mean, I guess it looks cool, but that thing's got to go. I've got an S&S Air Stinger Stealth teardrop that's going on there. The other reason is because I'm putting a bunking crash bar on it to use for obviously protection and for forwards. And there's just no way really to get your leg around that. So that's got to go. The bunking's going on. I've got an S&S Super Street 2-in-1 pipe that's going on. A couple of other things. Risers. A lot of guys are going with like the 9.5-inch risers. I see Thrashing is a big one. OG Moto, Original Garage. A lot of guys are going with that. My philosophy on the risers on this bike, they're not terrible, actually. Yeah, they're not shoulder height, but if you think about what the philosophy of use is on this bike, it's, you know, this is not your like ape hanger cruiser style bike. This is not a sport bike either, but it is designed to be riding a little bit more aggressively than some of the other models. And if you'll notice, like MotoGP, motocross, those motorcycles, their handlebars are not at shoulder height. There's a reason why they kind of reach down for the bars. It puts you in a more aggressive stance, a stance that you can more easily move your weight around on the bike. And so I didn't want to go with something like real tall. To me, shoulder height and taller, a lot of traffic out here. Shoulder height and taller, which I have had on a club style bike before, is not conducive to that aggressive style of riding. Yeah, it's comfortable for longer miles, but I really decided to split the difference on that. I went with a set of 8-inch risers, which are in their box right now. I'm waiting on the cable kit, the cable wires and brake line, which I ordered from cablekits.com to come in. Still not here yet, so it remains to be seen if they're a reputable company. I have no idea. So I went with the 8-inch to kind of split the difference. A lot of guys are going 9.5, 10-inch, even higher than that. I kind of wanted to split the difference. These are 5-inch stock, go up 3 inches. I think that's a good middle ground between an aggressive riding stance and something that's a little more comfortable. I did not go with the pullbacks. I don't need to. I've got long arms. I don't want to be leaned back on this bike. You can always, if you've got shorter risers, you can always stretch your arms out and lean back a little bit. But if the bars are too tall and too close to you, if you want to get an aggressive riding stance, you've got to lean forwards and bend your elbows, and that's just uncomfortable. I don't like that. So that's what I'm going to end up going with on this bike. No issues from the bike so far, except for the fact that, as a lot of people have pointed out, the little plastic trim ring that goes around this headlight, it will fall off. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Put a little bit of Forma-Gasket on the tabs on that. It's held so far, but it did fall off on my first ride. I think other than that, I mean, you know, the best handling Harley that I've ever had. I've got 2 more in the garage, and you know, this one to me is the most fun to ride. My wide glide looks the coolest, my street glide is the most comfortable, but this bike is, you know, in my opinion, the best riding Harley I've ever been on. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, that's pretty much it. It's got good power. I'm going to end up adding a Woods 22XE cam, but the bike's got good power. Stood it up on the back wheel the other day, and I mean, it came right up to the balance point. You know, so you can do that kind of stuff on it too. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So if this is the kind of content you guys want to see, just kind of more of a fast and loose breakdown and see some mods that I do in the future, let me know in the comments, like, subscribe, etc., etc. I'm kind of new to making YouTube content, but maybe we'll get some music transitions, better camera equipment in the future if this content becomes popular. But yeah, so we got that. Probably do some videos on my other bikes in the future. But other than that, you guys take it easy. I'll update as we get some mods done, which is exactly what I'm about to start on right now with a couple of beers. So cheers.